Welcome to the Crowdpurr Weekly Trivia Show. My name is Philip Trickey. I am your host. I'm so glad to have you with us. I want to talk to you today about a really great update that we brought to the feature that we brought to the site last week. You can now put images and GIFs as the answers instead of just text. It's a really cool, fun visual component. As always, we have published 10 new games this week. You can take those 10 games and play those for your audience, with your audience. You can play them for your friends, your family, however you want to choose to do it. In addition to those 10 games, we've got a full database of fun games also for your audience and your friends and your family and everyone in between. I took my daughter to the Olivia Rodrigo concert last week in Cincinnati, and I got to tell you, the screaming. I have never heard screaming like that in my entire life. I imagine that that's what Beatlemania was like. I saw tears. I saw clutching of hearts, clutching of faces. It was just absolutely incredible. And you know what? That's how I feel about trivia. So what do you say? Let's play. I've got some fun games. We've got another in our science series. We've got a fun game about the produce section, King of the Hill, and a cool Dungeons and Dragons game that my brother Matthew will really love. So let's get started. Question 1, coming from science. Which of these is not one of the 6 classic simple machines? Is it A, shovel, B, inclined plane, C, pulley, or D, lever? A, shovel, B, inclined plane, C, pulley, or D, lever? And the answer, it's not a simple machine, is A, shovel. I mean, it is a simple machine, but it's not one of the 6 classically defined machines. That's lever, wheel, pulley, inclined plane, wedge, and screw. But you already knew that. Question 2, we've got a game about the produce section. These are all questions about fruits, vegetables, and things that you would find in the produce section. Question 2, which cousin of the potato is colloquially known as the Mexican turnip? Is it A, jicama, B, cassava, C, parsnip, or D, fennel? A, jicama, B, cassava, C, parsnip, or D, fennel? And the answer is the Mexican turnip is A, jicama. It's delicious. Question 3. I've got our game this week is the new wave of British heavy metal. So we've got games all about the new wave of British heavy metal, those bands like Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, that kind of stuff. Speaking of Iron Maiden, here we go. Question 3. What is the name of Iron Maiden's zombie-like mascot who has appeared on all of the band's album covers? Is it A, Bruce, B, Derek, C, George, or D, Eddie? A, Bruce, B, Derek, C, George, or D, Eddie? All Iron Maiden fans and a lot of other people should know this. The answer is D, Eddie. They even have a 747 airplane called Ed Force One that's flown by their lead singer, Bruce. Question 4. This is from our biographical trivia game this week. These are questions featuring biographies and autobiographies from the world of movies, television, and books. Question 4. What is the title of comedian Steve Martin's 2007 autobiography? Is it A, Well, excuse me, B, My Wild and Crazy Life, C, Born Standing Up, or D, The Real Jerk? A, Well, Excuse Me. B, My Wild and Crazy Life. C, Born Standing Up, or D, The Real Jerk? The answer is C, Born Standing Up. It's fantastic. He led a wild life. He used to work at Knott's Berry Farm when he was younger. Got to start in the magic shop there. Question 5, still from biographical trivia. What pop superstar of the 1970s and 80s released the humbly titled autobiography Me in 2019? Is it A, Phil Collins, B, Paul McCartney, C, Elton John, or D, Neil Diamond? A, Phil Collins, B, Paul McCartney, C, Elton John, or D, Neil Diamond? And the answer is autobiography Me was C, Elton John. Fun fact about that is that his autobiography was actually ghostwritten by a journalist named Alexis. So, does that still count as an autobiography? Who knows? I guess when you're Elton John, you can say it, and it is so. Question 6. We've got stand-up comedy this week in a fun game featuring comics. Question 6. Which late comic was known for his wry observations such as, an escalator can never break, it can only become stairs? Was it A, Bill Hicks, B, Richard Jeni, C, Mitch Hedberg, or D, John Pinette? A, Bill Hicks, B, Richard Jeni, C, Mitch Hedberg, or D, John Pinette? And the answer is, an escalator can never break, it can only become stairs. That is C, Mitch Hedberg. I believe the follow-up line was that is, thank you for the convenience. Question 7, coming from Dungeons and Dragons. This is questions all about the super popular role-playing game. What is the name of the longest-running tabletop gaming convention in the U.S., held annually in Indianapolis, Indiana? Was it A, PrezCon, B, Midwinter, C, DragonCon, or D, GenCon? A, PrezCon, B, Midwinter, C, DragonCon, or D, GenCon? The answer is the largest tabletop gaming convention in the U.S. is D, GenCon. It was started in 1968 in Wisconsin and moved to Indianapolis in 2003. Question 8, still from Dungeons and Dragons. Which Fast and Furious co-star wrote the foreword for the Dungeons and Dragons 30th anniversary book? Was it A, Paul Walker, B, Vin Diesel, C, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, or D, Jason Statham? A, Paul Walker, B, Vin Diesel, C, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, or D, Jason Statham? The answer, who wrote the foreword for the Dungeons and Dragons 30th anniversary book, was B, Vin Diesel, who apparently is a huge player of the game and has been playing. His 2015 film, The Last Witch Hunter, was based on a character that he's been playing for decades. Who knew? All right, question 9. We've got cinematic thrillers this week. These are all about thrills and chills and spills coming to you in the world of movies. Question 9. What NBA star plays himself in 2019's Uncut Gems opposite Adam Sandler's New York jeweler and compulsive gambler trying desperately to settle his debts? Was it A, Kevin Garnett, B, Joel Embiid, C, Carmelo Anthony, or D, Amari Stoudemire? A, Kevin Garnett, B, Joel Embiid, C, Carmelo Anthony, or D, Amari Stoudemire? The answer is A, Kevin Garnett plays himself. The part was originally written for Joel Embiid, actually, but he could not play. He couldn't be in the movie. And if you ever want to know what the cinematic equivalent of an anxiety attack looks like, it is 2019's Uncut Gems. But it is a great movie. Question 10, still from cinematic thrillers. Which 1980s pop group performs in an extended cameo in Brian DePalma's steamy erotic thriller Body Double? Is it A, Depeche Mode, B, Bauhaus, C, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, or D, Soft Cell? A, Depeche Mode, B, Bauhaus, C, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, or D, Soft Cell? And the answer is C, Frankie Goes to Hollywood. They perform Relax right in the middle of the film. It's like an entire music video, just right in the middle of the movie. But, you know, the 80s. What a wild time. Question 11, we have a King of the Hill game, all about the long-running Fox animated series featuring Hank Hill, Bobby Hill, and all the other Hills, Peggy Hill even. Question 11, what is Bobby Hill's career aspiration, much to the chagrin of Hank? Is it A, restaurant owner, B, marriage counselor, C, musician, or D, prop comic? A, restaurant owner, B, marriage counselor, C, musician, or D, prop comic? And the answer is, damn it, Bobby, it's D, prop comic. Bobby is a huge fan of Celery Head on the show. I wonder who that's based on. If you have any clues, feel free to leave some comments. Question 12, still from King of the Hill. What is the frequent alias adopted by Hank's paranoid, conspiracy theory spouting neighbor, Dale Gribble? Is it A, John Smith, B, Manuel Sanchez, C, Richard Starkey, or D, Rusty Shackelford? A, John Smith, B, Manuel Sanchez, C, Richard Starkey, or D, Rusty Shackelford? And the answer is D, Rusty Shackelford. Dale uses that to get out of all sorts of trouble, especially when he feels like the government is keeping an eye on him. All right, this game is near and dear to my heart. This is a game All Things Seattle. These next couple of questions coming to you are all about the city of Seattle. Question 13. What unusual item covers a large wall in the Post Alley section of Seattle's Pike Place Market? Is it A, love letters, B, string, C, Starbucks cups, or D, gum? A, love letters, B, string, C, Starbucks cups, or D, gum? The answer is, I used to live right down the street from this place, and it is gross. The answer is D, gum. There's an entire wall just covered with gum, and every day more and more people leave more and more gum. What are you going to do? Question 14, still from All Things Seattle. Which of these non-grunge artists did not come up through the Seattle music scene? Was it A, Sir Mix-a-Lot, B, Kenny G, C, Kenny Loggins, or D, Five Finger Death Punch? A, Sir Mix-a-Lot, B, Kenny G, C, Kenny Loggins, or D, a Five Finger Death Punch? The answer, these guys are not from Seattle, is D, the Five Finger Death Punch. Sir Mix-a-Lot, he's got his posse on Broadway. Kenny G went to high school and became, the star that we all know and love in Seattle. And Kenny Loggins, I didn't know that he was connected to Seattle until this game. So you learn something new every day. Question 15. We've got another in our continuing series of random trivia games in our kitchen sink series. This one's coming from that. Question 15. What is the name for a group of lemurs? Is it A, conspiracy, B, embarrassment, C, stubbornness, or D, implausibility? A, conspiracy, B, embarrassment, C, stubbornness, or D, implausibility? I love animal grouping names. The answer for this, a group of lemurs, is A, a conspiracy. Conspiracy of lemurs. Pandas are an embarrassment. Rhinos are a stubbornness, and gnus are implausibilities. GNUS news. That fun little tongue twister of an animal. So once again, I can still hear the screams, but the one scream that I'm really hearing right now is a bonus question. This week, our bonus question is coming from 90s TV shows. It's a fun little game about TV shows from the 1990s. Bonus question this week. Which 1990s New York set series featured Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt as married couple Paul and Jamie Buckman? Was it A, Will and Grace, B, Mad About You, C, Everybody Loves Raymond, or D, Married with Children? A, Will and Grace, B, Mad About You, C, Everybody Loves Raymond, or D, Married with Children? It had a fun, catchy little theme song, and everybody knows it. It's B, I'm Mad About You, Baby. Mad About You. I watched that show. It was really good. Well, that's the show for this week. It went by so fast. I'd like to give a big thanks to my super producer, Ross. Make sure that you like and subscribe. If you really love us, take a screenshot, put it on your Instagram stories, share it with your friends. Really helps spread the word. We'll see you next week with some fun trivia. Have a great week. Thanks for listening.